It's not my life. Life is this physical life that we have is just a little bit too short to be wasting it doing things that just to please other people. Just because somebody else has an idea about the way your life should be. So what's the answer? Forget it. Forget what people say to you. Forget what you're taught. Forget what you're told. And just live. It is totally, absolutely simple. It is the most simplest thing that you will ever come across. It's just to be, just to live, just to go with the flow of whatever you want to call it, spirit, God, source, universe, to go with what is meant to be, to go with what is, to go with what is. Just think about it. Think about yourselves, your body now. Think about your physical body. Are you all breathing at the moment? Yeah? Before I said that, were you thinking about breathing? You were just breathing. Is your heart beating at the moment? Just checking. But before I said that, were you aware of your heart beating? Were you thinking, oh, I've got to keep my heart beating? Right? Jim's up there talking and I'm getting distracted now. My heart, come on, keep beating. You don't do that. You don't do it. You just are. You just be. Your heart just beats. You just breathe. When you're walking down the street, do you think about what you're doing when you're walking? Do you think about putting one foot in front of the other? You don't do it. You just do it. You just do it. You just be. Oh, it sounds so simplistic and so easy, right? And the reason for that is because it is. Because it is. Now, like I said, I haven't got there yet. I like to think I'm getting there. I like to think I'm moving towards that point. There are still things, many things that I need to sort out and get straight in my life to move on, to put things aside, things that get in the way of me walking that path that I should be walking. And every time I come up against some sort of obstacle or problem or whatever, I just have to remind myself. To just be. To just be. I don't know how many of you have done mindfulness meditation. And those of you who have will know that mindfulness meditation is not to start with, it's not an easy thing. You really have to discipline yourself to sort of put aside all the other thoughts and to be mindful, totally mindful and aware of what you're doing at that particular moment. But it's there. It's there, and it is there for every one of us. Instead of being so cluttered by it. I mean, how many thoughts do you have in a day? You know? And what do they mean, for God's sake? You know, if your mind is anything like my mind, you think, what? Where did that come from? What did that mean? That makes no sense at all. It's just words that seem to have formed into some sort of order and they're passing through my head. And you think, what is going on? You know? And so we need to just to come to a place where we are at peace and at calm and my parents were in the Salvation Army, so I grew up with a Christian background, I guess, and I spent many years sort of involved with Christianity as a religion. Many things happened. I'll give you an example. I was involved in a church that was very, very much an evangelical, charismatic church. That we had healings, you know, and yeah, we had healings. I saw healings happen, you know. It was a very lively sort of church. When my daughter was born, she was born with a hole in a valve in her heart. So the natural thing for us to do was to pray for her to be healed. And the thing was, she wasn't healed, right? And she was just a little baby. Now, what was normally said at these things was if somebody wasn't healed, it was probably due to their lack of faith. But my daughter was a little baby, and it brought up lots and lots of questions in my mind about, hang on a minute here, right? You cannot blame this little child for not having any faith here. You know, there's something else at work here. There's something else not right. And it was that moment that started me questioning the whole sort of religious thing. And I came out of the church, and it's taken me many years to even consider listening or talking, or, you know, I used to, if somebody started talking about God as, you know, in their life, I would think, I don't want to know this, don't want to know this. It's taken me a long, long time to get to the point when I can accept people saying God, and I start talking about God myself now. The difference is that the God that I talk about now, when I talk about God, and I probably will throughout during this evening at some point, I don't talk about, I'm not meaning the sort of the Judeo-Christian concept of God, the Islamic concept of God, any sort of religious concept of God, if you like. When I talk about God, I'm talking about that immense cosmic source that is the source of all that is, okay, and that we're all part of. And there's a film that's, I don't know if it's been shown yet. It's going to be shown in Narberth. I think it's coming up soon. The film is called Three Magic Words. It's quite an interesting film. It's based on an old book. Go and see it. It's interesting. The magic words are, I am God. And it's realising that God isn't out there. God isn't out there. We are all part of. We are all connected to that creative energy, that source, that is, if you want to call it, God. Okay, I don't care what you call it, God, Spirit. I am Spirit. That's okay to say, isn't it? It's easier to say than I am God. People think you're nuts if you say I am God. I can't remember who it was. Sai Baba, I think. I get them all mixed up. There's so many of them. Somebody said to him, "Is it true that you believe that you're God?" He said, "Yes, I am God." He said, "And so are you. The only difference is you don't know it yet. You haven't realised it." We are all part of that same thing. I'm digressing from where I'm going, but it doesn't matter. We are all part of that same source.